I was born in 99. The video's gonna be long as frick. Let's go. My parents picked a great January to get lucky, because 1999 might be one of the best years for cartoons out there. Not absolutely stacked, but quality definitely overpowers quantity here. I'm making this video before I do my big adult cartoon watch through, so maybe it'll change some of my picks, but I've seen enough Futurama to really love it. There's a reason the show is so iconic and quotable. I find myself subbing to Zoidberg's voice a lot, actually. While the show is gut-bustingly hilarious, I think what makes it really stand out is its heart. There's tons of full episodes and scenes that show these weirdos really are a close-town family, and not just a bunch of co-workers. And I think that, on top of the great comedy, is why this somehow can escape Simpsons' shadow. Speaking of Simpsons' shadow, Family Guy. I've said a lot of negative things about this series in the past, but I must admit that the straight community has forgiven Family Guy. It definitely has millions of more misses than hits, but when the show is really good, it's really good. I think the earlier seasons definitely worked better back when he truly was a family guy. It wasn't just race to see the edgiest joke they could make. But I do respect the series. Batman Beyond begins the onslaught of DC cartoons I'll discuss. It's about the animated series Batman years later passing the baton to younger superhero, Terry McGinnis, and how he reacts to the more cyberpunk world. Basically everything that spawns from the DCAU, besides the Joker's redesign and the eventual oversaturation of Harley Quinn, is peak. So this fits here too. Ed and Eddie is of course a classic. One I'm shocked never overstays welcome. It's been airing for 10 years. It's sound effects, it's smart but mostly lovable. Okay, not really, I hate like most of the cast. But still really funny cast of characters. The lovely little squiggles on the cast, that's such a cool little art style choice. A hammer, discipline! There's a reason it's classic. But it's not my favorite Sam show this year. Courage means so much to me, man. It helped me overcome my fears. It's still ridiculously funny and creative. Courage is among my favorite characters of all time. And all those sleepless nights of terror can only be thanks to this stupid dog. In most years, Courage would take the top spot with flying colors. Problem is, Courage is just part of my childhood. SpongeBob was my childhood. If you want lovable characters, quotable dialogue, and a massive fall off, it's the epitome. Who cares if it fell off? I've seen people say the first 3 seasons are the modern day Looney Tunes, and I believe it. These gags can be repeated millions of times and it'd still be funny. I'll always dig Goofy Goober. 2000 was definitely a calmer year than last year. I assume people were too busy prepping for the world to explode from our clock skim centipede or whatever. We've got a few fun shows this year. The Touchstone star of this year's Aqua Teen Hunger Force. This is the show you very much need to be in the right mindset to watch, as in stone out of your mind, but it provides some of the funniest and darkly brilliant comedy of this era. You're going to need to expect some preschool shows for the first couple of years this decade, as this is the time I'd watch those. The first ones here are Dora and Clifford. Dora is definitely my favorite of the two when I was a kid. Like, I remember my sister asking me to help her with her Spanish homework just because I watched the show. Clifford, on the other hand, big dog. So it's the better of the two. Sheep in the Big City is a show I did not make up. It is in fact a real show. I'm not crazy, you're crazy! But this show is very fun, having a very casual and whimsical feel that feels like a classic children's book. Which makes sense since it's literally made by the same guy who made the Pippin books. As Told by Ginger is a pretty interesting show. See, it's one of the first cartoons for kids that will openly discuss more serious topics like divorce and death in a very down-to-earth and real way. But I don't want realism, I want Wayne Knight. The Buzz Lightyear show is a very fun part of my childhood. I was massively into Toy Story and space, so like, I was kind of into this show. Its campy nature is really funny. Never taking itself too seriously, but always delivering in fun action characters. But if you took a serious nature and openness to discussing deeper topics with Ginger, with the fun characters and action of Buzz, you get Static Shock. This show broke a lot of barriers. Took a no-name character and made him one of my favorite superheroes. And again, was never afraid of discussing darker themes, like gun violence and racism, but never being preachy with it. For that, it's my favorite cartoon of the year. For the threat of us dying from living vending machines neutralized, 2001 was a phenomenal year for animation. We got Shrek and Monster Inc. this year. We were so blessed this year. How could TV animation be even better? Fairy Odd Parents and Zim dropping on the same day. That's how. I discussed these shows to death, so I don't want to yak for that long. But one of these shows was a show I loved as a kid that I hated massively, and the other was a show I thought was annoying for it as a kid, but absolutely corrupted up by as an adult. Top is very fun. The earlier seasons have really strong themes of growing up and maturing, which is ruined by the show regressing and team refusing to move on. But hey, he gave us Diggleberg, so I love it. Zim though? That's peak. That ruined my vocabulary. That's giving me a separate animal that appears in like every background of a video. Those are certainly the big ones, but that's not all this year. Harry Birdman is another great show from Adult Swim, being about an old forgotten show from Hanna-Barbera, making it about telling jokes that, admittedly, kind of dated. Hard to laugh at the millionth Shaggy Snokes weed joke, but it's still super fun. More preschool shows. Oswald the Octopus needs more love. The show just smiles in a form of cartoon. It's like a warm hug watching this. Beautiful colors, welcoming characters. This was a fantastic show for a 3-year-old. Sarwa the Chinese Cat is a show I've never seen anyone really discuss, but it helped me understand the Zodiac. As someone who was upset that I was a rabbit, or when else in my class was a dragon, frick this show! Nah, JKSQ. House of Mouse. I never wish to talk about this show again. Billy and Mandy was a show I remember liking as a kid, but going back to it, I found how much stuff stuck with me. I kind of miss when shows were allowed to go all the way. From violence to big scary monsters to whatever the frick that noise Billy makes. There's a reason I still love the show to this day. No wonder the show is so great is maybe I do it on the spectrum, but just naturally the funniest. Justice League, fantastic series. Unlike Static though, it's been a while since I've revisited it, so I can't give it a nod. It helps the Samurai Jack come out this year, so I can feel confident get the stats instead. Samurai Jack is such a once-in-a-lifetime show. The pure silence of it, the flat yet wonderful feel. There's only like 3 recurring characters, but I describe the one-offs in depth. Well, they're freaking a coup! Easily among CN's best. It makes sense why they decided to revive it. A masterpiece of animation.
It's not easy to be me.
2002, the same amount of children I keep laughing in my basement to see the ravenous crocodiles that hide there. It's also the year What's New Scooby-Doo came out. Genuinely quick. Tell me one thing about the show isn't the theme song. Banger theme. But also, pretty fun show for a Scooby reboot. K&D as father. If he was the main character, this would have been my pick. But even without that, it's really a fun show that celebrates why being a kid is so great. Better than any piece of media I've seen. It's a massive reason why this era of CN is among its best. More preschool stuff. Cyber Chase. A baby show that managed to get Christopher Lloyd and Gilbert Gottfried on the cast. The casting of 2 naturally really fun actors elevated this to a really memorable piece of my childhood. Speaking of which, Max and Ruby. I still occasionally go back to this show. Like Oswald, it's just a fun, relaxing vibe. This time, it's with an older sister who's just the worst. Like mine! She won't watch this, I can say whatever. Jimmy Neutron. Why would this show that on there? It's funny, yes. But like, it is so deranged, dog. I wouldn't have it any other way. As fire as those are, I was more of a Disney kid. So Kim Possible was big for me. It's one of the rare shows that was actually pushed by the network. And as such, I was deep in the sauce. But a show being pushed means nothing if it's bad. And thankfully, this show freaking sucks! Yeah, no, Fred. The snarky tone of writing, really fun action scenes, overall phenomenal show. Clone High. It took me until recently to watch this, and I adore it. It's a fantastic dig at teen dramas at the time, while still hitting hard 2 decades later. Why is JFK in real life a lame president? It would have been so much better if he was a brainless Chad jock. God, I wish his head did do that. Clone High is like actual peak. It was nearly my choice, but I'm sorry. The reboot is technically the same show, so it must be considered too. But I'm sorry. I respect what they were doing. I don't like it. It became what it parodied. Because of that, Kim Possible is my choice for this year. We definitely got some good ones, but ultimately, I let nostalgia win here. God, I expect this year to be such a major nostalgia bomb, because wow, did I get the main expansion back to the past for this one? Like, trio shows I completely forgot. Koala Brothers, a show at Australia without people dying of venom all the time, but it was a really cute, relaxing show. Kenny the Shark, a show at a shark that wants to eat people, but keeps being told not to. Peak. And JoJo's Circus, a really fun stop-motion series that I can no longer take seriously because of me. The 2D Clone Wars is a fantastic series that is sadly short-lived, but I do see it more of a movie than a show. Shout out to making everyone believe Grievous is the coolest character ever, instead of someone suffering from asthma. Lilo and Stitch, my childhood. I will one day drop an hour-long retrospective on this freaking entire series, but for now, love the different creatures, and how it's a very innocent and cute series about befriending the monsters instead of fighting them. But with those out of the way, then we did a difficult discussion between the 3 teens. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2003, Teenage Robots, and Teen Titans. Team in 2003 is a great series. Far true to the original dark take on the series, while keeping the fun, lighthearted, cheesiest pizza take the 80s show gave us. It's a great series, but it's not the Ninja Turtles I grew up with, so I'm sorry, but it'll always be held back. Going to Teenage Robot though, that's a much stronger case. It's Art Deco look, fun action, and of course, absolutely iconic main character, and still pretty gripping cast. Definitely a strong contender here. It would do fantastically in most years, but this isn't most years. It's a year with Teen Titans. Everyone knows the show, but I'm a little sad it's written off as just the show is better than Go. It perfectly balances humor and drama. The 5 very distinct and lovable in their own way characters, Starfire is my favorite, she's a little shrunky. Slade is a phenomenal villain, but I guess that millions if thinking Deathstroke was cool and not a pedophile. And it might be the best translation of anime-style visuals into Western animation. This was a great year, But when there's trouble, you know who to call. 2004. The year gave a Shark Tale and 3 actually Bowser animated films. For TV though, it's actually pretty solid. Days of Barbarian desperately needs to be added to Disney Plus. It's such a funny show that really stands out versus the generally down-to-earth Disney pantheon. It's sad it's only known for one scene. The Batman suffers from me not seeing it in a while, but it's a very great new take on Batman, giving every character a really interesting new look, and really just being a great take on Batman as just a full-on good hero. Really no inconsistency, he's just a nice guy. The obligatory preschool shows shout out because it's arguably the best ones that I'm most nostalgic for. Miss Spider's Sunny Patch Friends, a cute series that always helped me overcome arachnophobia, at least until this thing crawled on screen. Hill-Town Heroes, just something I kind of remember fondly, nothing deep here. And Backyardigans, quite possibly the best preschool cartoon. This is the pinnacle, I said it. You would start asking me for the top 35 preschool shows. 16, the team of Total Drama before that show dropped. It's a pretty relaxing and fun slice of life show. Father's Home is a show I've talked about to death. It was easily my favorite CN show as a kid. And while the cracks are there, it's still funny. I still love the characters, and I would still call it a comfort show. Hi Hi Puffy Amayumi is a show constantly ping-ponging from being really obscure to really popular. And while I think it's niche just filled by other shows, it's still pretty fun, with a killer theme. Oh, also, I forgot to say this, I will occasionally shout out shows I haven't seen but I'm interested in seeing. Bazania. Venture Bros seems really interesting, and I'll definitely hit it in my adult cartoon watch through, but I haven't gotten around to it. Also, Winx Club. I know the show has a major underground fandom, but I never got around to it. That leads us to the action shows from each of the big 3. Megas XLR, Danny Phantom, and Super Robot Monkey Team Hyper Force Go. Megas is an absolutely hilarious anime parody. It hit that niche right before it became a cliche. Still hits hard today, and delivers some killer action scenes. Genuinely, this is like an abridged series before those were a thing. Danny Phantom, despite its awful finale and dated elements, remains iconic thanks to fully embracing action scenes, having a roller gallery strong enough to rival most superheroes, and making really great use of its setting and characters. Again, flaws are there, like the romance, but it's a great series. The final one, which I will not say the full name of, is again really fun. Kind of standard in terms of action cartoons, but like, Monkey. Despite that, Danny still gets my vote. Very close between it and Foster's, but I think it's just slightly stronger.
Look at this photograph.
2005! I no longer wish to be alive. A pretty solid year, actually. Catch Race was super short-lived, but ridiculously fun and super well animated. If only its creator wasn't a terrible person. Ben 10 started here. While I do like its sequels, this is probably the strongest series. Best balance of humor and action, Ben at his best, Max is the GOAT, Villiax isn't a freaking loser, and really leans to its mix of comic and sci-fi. Boondocks might have a sucky final season, but the original ones are still biting satire 2 decades later. You couldn't make this today. Not because it's offensive, but because it's more or less what we're living through. Johnny Test may not be super well loved, but I still watched it a lot as a kid. It still got some funny moments, and really does not deserve to be constantly called the worst show ever. Also, massive year for shows with American in their name. American Dad, A Better Family Guy, and American Dragon. A show that really deserves more credit as being a big step forward on story-based animated shows. A very great selection of shows. It's really hard to pick a favorite. But when Air Dark came out this year,
My life is brilliant. My love is pure.
2006 was around when I fully became conscious. It says this year freaking sucks. Like, it's not as bad, but it's apparently super dry. I mean, Class of 2000 is pretty fun. A show about a literal band of misfits who all take band lessons from Andre 3000. The lead singer of Outkast had a very distinct style, and songs were unsurprisingly bangers. This is the last year I watched preschool shows. So wow wow wubsy. I know I watched a lot about this show as a kid, but I cannot tell you a single thing about it. And Wonder Pets, a show that looks like an animated horror short, but somehow for babies. I remember watching Puka as a kid, but I don't remember enjoying it. Maybe it's fine, I don't know. Same with Yin Yang Yo, except I actually did rewatch this one. I still don't like it. Emperor's New School is pretty fun too, but only when it's doing its own thing. But that's what takes from the movie a lot, and that isn't as fun. Emperor and Class are pretty close, but I think Class being more fresh makes me lean towards it this year. 2007, on the other hand, is a much better year. It gave us George of the Jungle. No, seriously, this year's pretty good. Shaun of the Sheep, pretty baller. Cute little stop motion series. Cures a silent comedy from Wallace Brown very nicely. Very nice, cool epic. El Tigre is a very distinct show, thanks to its wonderful art direction. No wonder it's so widely loved, despite its ridiculously short airtime. Total Drama started this year. I think the series doesn't hold up too well on its own, but the memories I have talking about it, speculating on who will be voted out next, raises this very high. Back at the Barnyard.
Bullying is a misdirected attempt at attention, rooted in anger and frustration.
Okay, so I know I said I was done with preschool shows, and I am, Never saw War Girl. I've seen clips, and like, it's genuinely super clever and awesome from what I've seen. I feel like I got that. Also, never saw Xavier Renegade Angel, but God, do I want to. Starter is of course a classic. It was everywhere during like 2020, 2021, but God, more people should talk about it. This show is consistently funny, consistently creative. Everyone deserves to see it. I was so convinced nothing could top it this year. But then I remembered something. That being there's 104 days of summer vacation, and still comes right along to end it. Yeah, this was a no-brainer. Phineas and Ferb was right up there with SpongeBob as the show for my childhood. Same level of characters, endlessly quotable. But this time, it never fell off. From start to finish, this show was and still is phenomenal, and easily my choice for the best of the year. 2008 very well might be the best year so far. The problem is it's also the year when Clone Wars came out, so there's no real debate here. But hey, let's look at the runner-ups. We have some great comic adaptations this year. Batman the Brave and the Bold fully embracing the weirdness of Batman the DC cartoons tend to ignore. Spectacular Spider-Man just being a fantastic take on the character with an amazing angular style and a pretty deep look at all Spidey's cast. And the Garfield Show. Making Phoenix only a short series, but it's also all about just kind of murdering people and making everyone feel miserable while being a kids show. So it's based. Penguins of Madagascar is the best thing to come from DreamWorks. There's more artistry in this frame than the entirety of Puss 2 and Prince of Egypt combined. Alien Force is another solid Ben 10 series. Less interesting visuals, but more focused on the story, making it really epic and cool. I have like 3 more cartoons to talk about, Jesus Christ. Walk Fu is another show I've heard of but never seen. If I should watch the show, comment, I will punch Guacamole in the face. Then there's the 2 CN shows I love that no one else does. Flapjack, a little show full of nightmare fuel and that freaking octopus, that generally has a cool nautical vibe that still really holds up super well. And Secret Saturdays, the show that got me to cryptids. Has a great balance of story and humor. The other villain I love, but like not for brain rot reasons. But yeah, I saw what these all are. Clone Wars is basically perfect. It's what Disney wanted the live action shows to be. Really showing the war part of Star Wars. Fully fleshing out Anakin, giving us Ahsoka who's just a great POV character. Hondo. I was going to say it's a once in a lifetime show, but saying even once in a decade because Avatar was like 3 segments ago. Hey, you know how I was talking about how great 2008 is? 2009 is not that. Genuinely, when we lose anything nuking this year from existence? Alright, what came out this year? Wolverine and the X-Men, haven't seen. Archer, haven't seen. Superhero Squad Show, haven't seen. So, what show have I seen this year? Oh, I mean, there's League of Super Evil? That was fun. I watched that as a kid. Not super funny or anything, but I love lame villains. However, I said that my favorite show this year was... Oh god. My favorite show of this year was Fanboy and Chum Chum. I am dead serious. Listen, it's nostalgia, and Kyle is funny, and I'm just so sorry. Okay, now we're in 2010. Maybe the reason last year sucked so much is we were preparing for this year. The start of the decade was great. I mean, there's still some shows I gotta watch, like Earth's Mightiest Heroes and Young Justice. But this gives us Symbiotic Titan. Gendy fully embracing the over-the-top anime shenanigans he started with in Jack. That's really well made and desperately needs attention, other than that one twerking scene. Ultimate Alien. Ben 10 good. Kick Buttowski should suck hard and be a generic edgy and rad and hip show, but instead, it's peak. Adventure Time. Do I even need a yap about this dog? It's freaking Adventure Time. Mystery Inc. perfectly extends the classic Scooby formula while also making it darker, and funny, and gay. General Rex, like probably the best action in a Western cartoon, with a really fun and unique world of nanite mutations. My Little Pony. It's pretty easy to forget how this show really changed the landscape of animation. Yeah, Brony is cringe, but like, this show really brings fandom culture to the forefront. So there is a market for girly shows that still appeal to men, and it's just, in general, a really solid show, no matter who you are. But I only give the crown to one, and if you know me, you know what it is.
It is I, the chameleon.
It's regular show. Yeah, duh. Like, I'm not nostalgic for it, but genuinely, it slots in super well with SpongeBob and Phineas. It just being a timeless comedy with solid humor and characters. Like, how can you say no to my voice gifts? You know who else likes it?
I'm sexy and I know it.
I should watch Bob Burgers and Dan vs. I'm a Con. Anyways, 2011 definitely isn't major, but it still got some bangers. Green Lantern animated series was my introduction to Green Lantern. CGI doesn't hold up super well, It's a great take on the series. It has a Kung Fu Panda Legends of Awesomeness 2011, a collaboration between Nickelodeon and DreamWorks. Is good! Looney Tunes show. Thank God liking this is publicly acceptable now. It's far more clever than it seems. Looney Tunes ain't just all anvils and explosions. It's mostly the writing and putting these larger than life characters in weird situations. And they did that greatly. I'll tell you more in February, but it's fantastic. Then we got the cat duo, Gumball and Thundercats. Gumball may not be as classic of a comedy as some of the others, but like, it's the only good take on meta humor recently. But of every single art style, it still remains the single most standard art style of the 2010s. And like, it do be funny. Thundercats though. This is how you do a reboot. Expand the world. Dive deeper into the characters. Make the animation be like how you thought the show looked. Snarf doesn't look like a 70-year-old man. This is a show that deserves more love, dog. But between the two, yeah, I'm leaning Gumball. I guess it just kind of is a show I think of more often. And for that, it barely edges out. Let me tell you something about Offender College Cross 2012. I was new to this whole statement as a parody to forget about it. But I can barely talk, dog. You think I can sing? But a pretty good year here. Randy Cunningham is another solid action comedy mix. We just brought to life the nearly 3D looking 2D visuals, and Ben Schwartz giving 100% to the role. Murder City deserves love too. Why is this not on Disney Plus? Fast-paced action, lovable characters, you should watch it and stuff. Basically ditto to Tron Uprising 2, which is up there for the best cartoon based on a movie. Korra was originally nothing more than a punching bag. I'm glad people are realizing its peak. Not Avatar peak. Like honestly it's pretty mixed at points. As in season 2 sucks. But like, again, I love gay people. And Varric, best character in fiction. But as I set up, the 2012 Ninja Turtles show was what made me fall in love with the series. I adore these characters. For most of them, it's basically what I think of when I think of any TMT character. It's got pretty easily the best CGI in a TV show. It's still just got some ridiculously gripping action. In spite of all of that, Gravity Falls came out the same year, so it doesn't matter. Wowie Zowie! The show that I said was in contention for my favorite show of all time, it was my favorite villain of all time, and it's literally the reason I didn't throw myself off a building in middle school. It's my pick. Wow, what a shock. Benton Omniverse. The way to decide what goes on the list or not was to go to Wikipedia. They have like this list of like every single cartoon per year, and just write down whatever I think seems interesting. When I got to 2013, I was really scared when I went through half the list and had nothing, but I did find 5 that are worth talking about. It's certainly quality over quantity. Louise Elise is also the last show that truly blew up. I had an on-off relationship with Rick and Morty. I never thought it was truly funny, but I always loved its weird and unique takes on every single plot it thinks of. Until it went on for too long, it got more and more stale. So now the show is, I'm genuinely so freaking sorry for this, in a pickle. It's just kind of out of things to do. Leading to the really unfunny gimmick of, hey, this is a cliche. Okay, we've said it's cliche, we can do it without changing things. I still respect it, but I need something that's genuinely funny, clever, well thought out, and full of lovable characters and wonderful and beautiful animation. Uncle Grandpa. Listen, I genuinely don't know if I'm buried under billions of layers of irony, or I genuinely love the show, but, I love the show. I say I cannot give the 2013 Mickey Mouse series the nod, simply because its short length does hold it back, but God. Mickey has never been this distinct, this funny, this original, this wonderfully redesigned Pete. This is Mickey at his best. That leads us to 2 very special shows to me. Steven Universe and Wonder Over Yonder. Both are fantastic. Both mean a lot to me. But I've realized, Steven is just like advanced Wander to me. I slightly prefer Wander over Steven as a character, but like, I like the world of Steven more. I like the songs more. I like the side characters more. The show really had me realize I was ace in a way. Yeah, Wander do be epic, but Steven's edges slightly above.
Turn down for what?
2014 reminds me that there was a Scooby-Doo parody revolving around Mike Tyson that I have not seen. Why is my life so hollow? Wait, it's not, because I watched the super epic and cool King Julian show. It's one that makes more of a cosmic horror, but it's also like genuinely really funny and epic and like weirdly well animated despite being a TV show budget. Kratos is a fun slice of life. The complete 180 on this show is certainly really sudden, but no, I'm glad it's getting more love. Penn Zero is a really unique show. Most shows would have a heart attack of the mere thought of it being a show where every single episode has a new designed world. This show really runs with it. Overground Wall is basically perfect in every way. It nails the innocent cottagecore wholesome feel for turning into the scariest thing you've ever seen. I adore it, but it's closer to a movie than a TV show, which holds us back. It also doesn't have character actress Margot Martindale. Yeah, BoJack is just kind of a low-key peak fiction. I really wish there was anything I could say that hasn't been said a million times. But yeah, it's a perfect blend of being the single funniest thing I've ever seen and being absolutely soul-crushing, but not in a completely depressing way the internet makes it out to be. It's hopeless for BoJack, but not for you. And also, like, If Parrot helped me out that much, imagine what Todd did for me. Todd my goat. 2015 gave us one really big show, Miraculous Ladybug, a show that is still airing, is absolutely massive, and has a terrible fan base apparently, and I have never seen it. Epic! Do I even talk about Star vs. Dog? Well, it's been talked about to death. First 2 seasons good, 3rd season decent, 4th season also decent, but then the worst ending of cartoon history happened. Now we forgot the entire show existed. Really, the real competition was between the 2 really fun slice of life shows about a trio of goofballs, Harvey Beaks and We Bare Bears. Both of these shows are really fun relaxing shows, with very distinct styles that separate them from each other. Only one of these has Ice Bear, and also being able to run longer, that helps. So yeah, close call, but we bear him with the Bears.
I know I can treat you better than he can.
2016 is considered one of the worst years in recent memory. I think the reason for this shouldn't be due to political reasons, but instead because cartoons were so bad this year, I decided to give an honorable mention to Loud House. Like, it's far from the worst show, it's got some cute moments. I really like the animation style that resembles classic comic books, and I don't think the fandom being exclusively made of people from Alabama should be used against it. It being mostly pretty childish and not particularly funny is a reason not to like it though. While this year is pretty barren, Girl Hunters is pretty good, albeit pretty standard, it works with limitations well. Like, the only really standard show this year was Milo Murphy's Law. Yellow Final Season really leans too much into themes of nostalgia, but it's still a really fun show with great songs. And my goat, Weird Al. It's definitely a weaker year, but Milo was cool.
Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang.
2017 was a pretty good year. For animation, not the stuff that matters. I assumed the animation industry knew Big Mouth was coming this year, and they had to try their hardest to counter the best they could. Legend Quest is a pretty fun show about a group of 4 sillies going across the world interacting with various legends from mythology. It's fun, I like it. I just made my Netflix show video. I don't have much to add to some of these shows I discussed there. Like Buddy Thunderstruck, a fun and quirky stop motion series, and Castlevania. Yes, that's a cartoon, not an anime. I think it really appears in season 1, but it's still a really well-made series. You know, it takes a lot of celebrity with its source material. Alucard's hot. Welcome to the Wayne gets my vote as not just an underrated show of the year, maybe even the whole decade. A magic hotel full of different creatures and rooms with a massive conspiracy going on, full of strange and magical entities. I really wish it got love deserved. Disney made 2 shows based on their movies this year. Big Hero 6 the series, and Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure. Like Castlevania, Big Hero really peaks the first season. But I just really like the group and them being silly together. Helps that almost the entire cast returned. And sure helps that one of the people that didn't return is CJ Miller. Tangled's art style definitely takes some getting used to. It's not the type of thing you'd expect to see in motion for a long time, but it's a really well-made series. The show is after Happily Ever After, introducing some pretty good new characters and having songs on par with, if not better than the original. OKKO is a show that was released at the absolute worst time. This could have been huge, man. It's got everything you would want. A wide variety of lovable and distinct characters, absolutely hilarious writing, a simple but distinct art style, gay representation arguably on par with Steven Universe, and all wrapped up in a very original premise. It takes a bit from 90s cartoons and anime, but it's still its own unique thing, not relying on being a big name or a reboot. My favorite cartoon of this year was a reboot. Listen, I'm planning on making a video for this show, but DuckTales is near perfect. It's funny, it's gorgeously animated, it's got ground gold, it respects the source material while building off of it. That's the best way to put it. It's an original show, but more. And that's why it's the best.
Cardiac glasses, I won't even peek at you. Yellow Ferrari like Pikachu.
2018 was a phenomenal year. For animation, just assume that for the rest of the years everything sucks besides animation. First is Rise of the TMNT. Here's a show with amazing animation and autism. Holy frick, I love autism. Top of the show a lot, but there's not much new to add. Craig of the Creek and Big City Greens fall in the same category for me, of shows that are really popular and been airing for years. No one ever talks about them. But they're really fun slices of life with more comedic and sometimes off-the-wall tone. But a special mention going to Craig of the Creek for just being really imaginative with its premise of a small hangout place for kids and letting their mind go wild with creativity on games they could play with it. Oh, and Bluey came out this year. I haven't seen it. Everyone just instinctively thinks I have seen it, but I haven't. Okay, cool, great, epic. So we had a joke last segment about the anime industry trying to apologize for Big Mouth, but honestly, this is a great year for Netflix. Dragon Prince started this year. The most no one talks about this show is exactly what the internet wants show of all time. Seriously, I don't get why it's not more discussed. I also don't get why Captain Underpants show didn't get an Oscar. This might be a TV series, but it's actually perfectly one-to-one with the books and movies. How does this series of all things never miss? She-Ra, by DuckTales, Zynga Video, is also a perfect revitalization of an old show. The anime-esque style really brings the show to life. I fully expected this, going into this that it's going to be lame and girly, but it turns out it's awesome. And girly. That's a good thing. It also has my Silly Billy, so very strong pick for the top spot. The problem is it came out the same year as my favorite show of all time, so yeah, it's Hilda. Again, probably my favorite cartoon. If I don't make a video about both of these shows in 2025, shoot me, dog. But I love it.
Dance for me, dance for me, dance for me, oh, oh.
2019 is the year I started college. The pain is eternal. Just like student loans. This year is really strong though. Like Primal. I haven't seen Primal, but I have seen Green Eggs and Ham. This is genuinely better than it sounds. The story seems like it shouldn't be able to be a full series, but they make a lot of clever additions and changes while still keeping the heart of the story alive. Mama was awesome because he saw people complaining about how main characters in cartoons are too nice and saw it as a challenge. The hero of Pure Heart isn't exactly a pure-hearted individual. These guys are rude, they're selfish, they probably have kill count, and that's wonderful. Steven Universe Future is more Steven Universe, so of course I like it, but it being shorter and not giving full attention to anyone besides Steven does hold it back a bit. It being as an amphibia holds it back even further. Another show I've talked about a lot, well, most about how Marcy is me for real, but I like the slow burn aspect of the show. Really building up to the higher scale stuff. And while stuff with the girls is what most people like, the frog stuff is still super fun. It's just a very unique world that I love with all my heart. This is the last time I'll say it though, but in most years, Amphibia would be my pick. The problem is that it came out the same year as Infinity Train. If I had to pick my favorite of the three animation studios, it's CN. If I had to pick my favorite CN show, it's Infinity Train. 4 seasons worth of amazing animation. A different below cast every time. A new entire message and theme that hits way harder than most shows of this era. I don't want to dive too deep into it because it's really hard to dive deep without spoilers. But this is among the objective best shows I've seen. And I love it. Watch the show. I know no one else will, but bazinga.
Yeah, you got that yummy, yum.
Okay, so y'all know my pick for this year. But while not a great start of the year for 2010, this was a great start of the decade for the worst decade of animation. Cable and the Wonder Beast is kind of overlooked thanks to She-Ra ending around this time it started, but its punk aesthetic and its unique world of neon mutations really makes it stand out in that field. Looney Tunes cartoons is a fun take on the old shorts, kind of taking them from where they left off and keeping them in the same violent, insane yet timeless take on these characters, but they say they don't stack up to the originals. Speaking of new takes and classic, the Animaniacs reboot started this year. It's weird, the show was everywhere during its first season, despite being very rocky and instantly dated. The later seasons have proven it a lot, but I don't see anyone talk about it anymore. I think the first season might have put people off. Jurassic Park was begging for a cartoon. I think Planet Courageous really delivers. The first season I think is the best, being focused more on the getting kids trapped in the park with Indo after them. The later seasons are still fun, and probably like the only truly good thing to come to this series besides the original movie. Close Enough is good, I like it, but it's hard not to compare it to a regular show. Like, it's funny, but it's so much funnier that a kid show can get away with so much compared to an adult cartoon. Still good, but not my favorite. Midnight Gospel is sadly too short for me to give it the nod. The dreamlike feel it has, alongside the really cool idea of animating podcast interviews, really makes this one cool. Glitch Text is a great second season, with a kind of mediocre, if not fully bad, first season. I'm sorry, the gamer lingo in the first season was really cringy. I don't understand why people aren't bothered by it. Owl House my pick, dog, like duh. The show actually helped me get back into cartoons. It's the first cartoon since Gravity Falls I watched as a camp in full. It's got some of my favorite characters, favorite episodes, favorite everything. Not my favorite cartoon, granted, but easily one of my favorites. In a very strong way to start this decade. So this is interesting. I made a video years back on everything I watched in 2021, and I said my favorite cartoon that year was Kid Cosmic. I still like the first 2 seasons, but season 3 was mostly a waste of time. Most of it was a dream world where it has nothing, and all the plot twists were too clearly telegraphed. So what other shows did I watch back then? Well, Invincible was a runner-up last year. It makes a darn good case. Superheroes are extremely overdone, but I think this really takes the genre to new heights. It's emotional, the action is great, Omni-Man is hot, it respects the comics while still occasionally changing things up, keep it interesting, and later seasons keep one-upping it. Arcane is also peak. Like, I had hype burn out over it for a year, but now I can see why people love it. It's amazing. But it's also League of Legends, so it's not my pick. Jellystone was nowhere near as talked about as Animaniacs, but this is the real best way to revive an old franchise. Vor, and Buff Yogi, and just so much crazy stuff, dog, it's insane, I love it. Monsters at Work was a pretty lame first season, especially for a show based on my favorite film. But season 2 gave me everything I wanted. A look at the monster world after the shift to Laugh Power, more Mike and Sully, overall more plot-based instead of being a generic work com. Like, season 2 deserves more love, dude. So those are all the shows I watched in 2021, but there's a lot of shows I watched after as well. Ghost of Molly McGee went from a pretty fun show to a genuine highlight among Disney's shows in its final season. The dynamic between Molly and the ghost hunting family is great. I like Libby opens up herself up more, and Scratch went from just a funny guy I like to why am I bawling? Inside Job has become kind of a symbol for unfairly canceled shows. It's something great in its own right, but I think that it has a few fumbles. I hate like 90% of the cast. It's very reference heavy, and yeah, the fact that we're never going to get the conclusion of that cliffhanger stings. But it's taking conspiracy theories and just two fantastic leads really do make it special, if short-lived. My other three is closer to a movie than a show, but coming from El Tigre creator Jorge Guerrera, it delivers a very visually appealing show with a fun look at Mexican culture. Milmo's Post, a pretty fun Nick show that isn't based on Avatar, Ninja Turtles, or Trapped Incest. So yeah, it's dead, but it's cute, I like it. Carry Along with Battle Line is a beautiful animated series, so cleverly written from the creator's POV, with him voicing almost every character. It takes a massive page from BoJack, where it can be soul-crushing one moment and hilarious the next. You all gotta watch the show, dog, but it's not my favorite. I think Invincible makes a mark on me more, so I think that's my pick. 2022. The year becomes clear, animation is dead. Like what we got is great, but also slowed down majorly, and is much more likely to get cancelled than before. With Streaming Wars and Fourth Forest, it's critical of ever consistently great shows again, but we still had some bangers. 3 of them. And also Vox Machina, I heard it's good, I haven't seen it, great. Cuphead Show. Very funny. Great way to adapt the games. Devil was the best character. Very nice, very nice. Battle Kitty is a very overlooked show, possibly being the best example of interactive TV show. Set up like a video game with separate levels, with various little shorts to connect them all. Sadly, you just can't physically experience it anymore. That's lame. But unlike last time, the pick of best of the year still holds up. Smiling Friends is hyped as the next great adult comedy. And it makes sense why. It understands Indian culture perfectly, making it not cringy, but absolutely dead on the best parts of adult comedy, all in a fun, colorful package. And season 2 only builds off of it. All hail Mr. Frog.
I am your mother.
2023 is last year's sequel, really. Like some good stuff, but significantly less than normal. They don't last long. But again, quality over quantity reigns supreme. Moon Girl was my pick for the best last year, but I made my recap. And it still makes a really strong case. It's funny, the animation is super fluid, the songs are all bangers, and very fresh compared to the other musical Disney shows. And season 2 even gives us an ongoing story. The only real flaw is that Devil is basically a glorified prop rather than the full character. Besides that, it's a very solid choice. Fiona and Cake is a great expansion of the original, bringing it to a more adult level while being edgy, and really diving into Simon, the biggest loose thread from the original show. Also Brian David Gilbert. Scavengers Reign is a really cool take on the end times. No idea why Max gave it only one season, then immediately dropped it. My Adventure Superman is a really cute, fun show. Perfectly understanding Superman as a character, his heart, his abilities, what he means to people in and out of the show, and that he's a massive dork. All of these shows are phenomenal, but honestly, even if I personally liked all 4 more than it, I feel like objectively, I have to give it to Blue Eye Samurai. A beautifully told story with breathtaking painted CGI visuals, like near cinema quality. Like BoJack, it's emotional but funny, but also throws action into the mix fantastically. You can sub any of these shows into my favorites. If I had to pick, I'm going with this. I'm making a video on this year, dog. Just like wait a month until then. Oh, that was great. I was glad I included every notable cartoon from these years, and then we did not miss. So I was going to rank all these cartoons from best to worst, then I realized I would have kind of ruined the inevitable best cartoon video I'm going to make. So I hate you, Gary. Your girlfriend doesn't love you. Stop.